Explosions were heard across Doha on Monday, as Iran launched missiles at a U.S. airbase in Qatar's capital. The attack was retaliation for U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend, when it joined Israel's air war against Tehran. But just hours later, U.S. President Donald Trump announced on his Truth Social platform a, quote, complete and total ceasefire between Israel and Iran. He congratulated the two countries on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what he called the 12-day war. Trump had said Iran gave the United States notice prior to the missile attack in Doha, which he said made it possible for no lives to be lost. Early on Monday, Israel bombed a political prison in Tehran, in a renewed demonstration of its willingness to strike not only military and nuclear targets, but key pillars in Iran's ruling system. The Trump administration maintains its aim is to solely destroy Iran's nuclear program, not to open a wider war. But in a social media post on Sunday, Trump spoke of toppling the hardline clerical rulers, who have been Washington's main foes in the Middle East since Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution.
The U.S. Air Force's B-2 stealth bomber played a key role in strikes against Iran's nuclear sites on Saturday. The U.S. military said 7 of the bombers were used in Operation Midnight Hammer to fly for 18 hours from an Air Force base in Missouri to Iran to drop precision-guided munitions on 3 nuclear sites. The cutting-edge design of the B-2 includes features that make it stealthy and reduce infrared, radar, and acoustic signatures, but the flying wing's success ultimately hinges on human performance. And intercontinental multi-day flights demand extraordinary endurance from its 2-person crew. Diet is carefully considered, and pilots go through sleep studies in advance of missions to see what wakes them up and helps them sleep. Reuters spoke with one retired B-2 pilot who said his go-to meal for the multi-day flights was turkey sandwiches, without cheese. The blander, the better, he said. Some pilots also sneak in sunflower seeds to stay alert between meals. The B-2's cockpit includes a small area behind the seats, where pilots can lie down on a cot. While the B-2 can fly 6,000 nautical miles on a full tank, most missions require multiple mid-air refuelings. It's one of the most dangerous aspects of these missions. Refueling is done blind. Pilots can't see the boom extending from a tanker full of gas attaching to the B-2 16 feet behind their heads. Instead, they rely on visual cues from the tanker's lights and memorized reference points. While updates to the B-2 software since its 1989 debut have improved responsiveness to pilot commands, flying in these tight formations at high altitude remains a challenge, and the process becomes increasingly difficult as pilot fatigue sets in. The B-2 costs about $65,000 per hour to operate. Over the coming decades, the Air Force says it plans to replace the B-2 and B-1 fleets with at least 100 B-21 Raiders.
The U.S. Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration, for now, to deport people to a country that isn't their own. It lifts an order from Boston-based U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy that migrants being sent to so-called third countries get what was called a meaningful opportunity to tell officials they're at risk of torture where they're going. The Supreme Court put that order on pause Monday while a legal challenge against it plays out. It hands President Donald Trump another victory in his aggressive pursuit of mass deportations. The Trump administration challenged Murphy's order after an attempt to send a group of migrants to politically unstable South Sudan, which the State Department has urged Americans to avoid, quote, due to crime, kidnapping, and armed conflict. Murphy found that the Trump administration had violated an order for additional steps before trying to send the migrants there. In May, he intervened, prompting the U.S. government to keep the migrants at a military base in Djibouti. The administration asked the Supreme Court to intervene after that. It told the court that its third country policy already complied with due process and was critical for removing migrants who commit crimes because, they say, their countries of origin are often unwilling to take them back. Monday's reversal from the Supreme Court was an emergency request and was unsigned without reasoning for the decision. The court has a 6-3 conservative majority. Its 3 liberal members dissented, with Justice Sonia Sotomayor writing that Monday's order was a, quote, gross abuse of the court's power. Reuters has also reported that U.S. officials had been weighing sending migrants to Libya, another politically unstable country that the U.S. has condemned for its harsh treatment of detainees.
Just hours after US President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said on Tuesday he had ordered the military to strike Tehran. That was in response to what he said were missiles fired by Iran in a violation of the truce. Iran denied violating the ceasefire. In that brief window on Tuesday morning, Iranians in the capital welcomed the ceasefire, saying it should have come earlier. Much of Tehran, a city of 10 million, has emptied as residents fled Israeli bombardment. Iran's Armed Forces General Staff denied that there'd been any launch of missiles towards Israel in recent hours, state television reported. Trump posted on Truth Social, "The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it." Shortly before the ceasefire took effect, Israeli authorities said 4 people were killed when an Iranian ballistic missile struck a residential building in Beersheba. But both sides confirmed the truce. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel had achieved the goals it had set in launching its June 13th surprise attack on Iran, which were to destroy its nuclear program and missile capabilities. Iran says its nuclear program is solely for peaceful purposes and denies seeking to develop nuclear weapons.
On the shores of Samana in the Dominican Republic, a leafy brown blanket is creeping over the coastline. As summer began on Sunday, a massive amounts of sargassum algae swept ashore. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the algae is a brown seaweed that clumps on ocean surface, never sinking to the sea floor. These floating mats can be huge and provide food and shelter for fish, turtles, birds, and more. But for locals, it's bad news. Sargassum has increasingly affected Dominican beaches and coastal communities since 2018, especially in popular spots like Samana. Boat operators and tour guides reported a sharp drop in tourists, with visitors avoiding beaches covered in decomposing algae.
We hardly do any tours. Look at the boats stranded there. We barely do any tours because people come, see all this, they just turn around and leave.
We're missing a bit of activity because the bad smell and everything keeps people away. When there's no sargassum and it isn't raining, things go well here and sales are good.
Researchers from the Technological Institute of Santo Domingo say they're finding better ways to predict sargassum arrivals, as they say local currents are unpredictable. Ivan Jimenez is a mechanical engineering professor with the institute.
What we try to do is understand or maybe model how the sargassum behaves according to the local conditions at the time. We try to create better prediction models that are not based just on the Dominican Republic's conditions.
Las condiciones de la República Dominicana.